One of my most favorite games to play in 2022 was Live Alive for the Nintendo Switch. I had a thoroughly good time with it and it checked all of the boxes. I just needed an excuse to play it once again. Flash forward to 2023, here we are, it's coming out on the PlayStation 4 and 5 and Steam, and I could not be happier to talk about it. So without further ado, what is up guys, Genesis7 here, welcome back to the channel, hope you're all doing well. Just a quick shout out to Square Enix for supporting the channel. They provided me with a review code for the PlayStation 5 for Live Alive so I can get my thoughts, my opinions, gather the footage and collect the infamous Platinum Trophy for this video for you to enjoy and digest however you will. I have timestamps in the description down below, so if there is a certain segment you want to skip to, feel free to do that. And if you want to watch this at a particular speed, maybe speed me up just a little bit, then feel free to do so. Whatever floats your boat. All I ask to support the channel is hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and get involved with the comment section down below. Now with that all out of the way, let's talk about Live Alive, and I'm just going to quickly touch on my history with Live Alive because I think it's important when talking about games so you know where I'm coming from. So obviously, this was the first time I played it last year when it came to the Nintendo Switch. It was always one of those games that you'd find on one of those top 5, top 10 lists of like RPGs you should play or hidden gems or games that never made it out of Japan. It was always there, and I always had the opportunity to, you know, sort out a fan translation and play it, but I never did. And I'm glad I didn't because we got it on the Nintendo Switch in the glorious HD 2D style. And it couldn't have been such more of a beautiful experience to play. So I'm already biased straight off the bat if you were already wondering that. But I played it and I really enjoyed it. I took my time with it and it ticked all the boxes, like I said, that I wanted out of an RPG. Now let's talk about Live Alive. Let's kind of touch on the story and the premise of the game for people that may not be familiar with it. Live Alive, if I was to compare it to something recent, would be Octopath Traveler 2, in the way it works that you have different characters that all contribute into an overarching story. So with Live Alive, off the bat, you get 7 stories at unique periods of time, and that's kind of one of the shining forces of Live Alive. So we got the prehistory, we got the Wild West, we got Imperial China, we got the twilight of Edo Japan, present day, the near future, and the distant future. And these are all separate stories that might have like little things in common, but obviously as you play through more of the stories and beat all of the stories, you will then get that overarching story that you've been working towards. And that's great, and I think that's just a trait in itself for you to play through it. But I think what's really unique is its kind of like style and approach to each period of time. In the HD 2D style, it looks amazing, and on the PlayStation 5 it looks even better. I played it on the 4K TV, and a lot of people always say to me, Jen, you're playing a pixel game on a 4K TV? This is a HD 2D game on the 4K TV. This should be 4K 2D style, alright? And it looked really nice. Like, you can visually tell if you played it on the Switch and then play it on the PlayStation 5 on the thing, you're not going to get like ray tracing and like all these shiny effects. You can just tell it's a lot visually better, and it represents all of these periods of time really well, and it runs very smoothly. So I guess if you wanted your graphics and your performance review, it's there in a nutshell. It runs really nice. I should imagine it's going to be just the same on the PlayStation 4, and on the PC I'm sure you can do what you will with it. So it is definitely a step up in regards to kind of performance and graphic fidelity. You can definitely tell when you watch the opening movie, which seems to be pre-rendered, and then compare it to when you're playing in game. You see the difference right there. So let's go in a bit more detail about gameplay, because I feel like I'm going to be traveling in and out of like so many things I want to talk about, and I'm weaving them in and out of different segments. So I'm hoping that I can segment this video as efficiently as I can. So let's talk about the gameplay. So each of these stories kind of have a common factor in its battle system, but different traits in its gameplay style. For instance, I'm looking at the prehistory, I'm looking at the twilight of Edo Japan, I'm looking at the Imperial China, and I'd say the near future are going to be the closest to your kind of RPG experiences. If you want to like a bite-sized RPG experience with like grinding, random battles, items to collect, they're your main ones. And then we have the present day, the distant future, and the Wild West that are more story focused. And that isn't to say that the other four that have the RPG elements are not very good stories. They're all amazing stories in my eyes, but the three I've just mentioned are a lot more focused on story. And the distant future I want to shout in particular because I had a great experience with this. I'm just going to flash back when I played the demo on the Nintendo Switch. This is one of the stories that was available to play, and it left me on a right cliffhanger and left me wanting more from it. It's a really, really good story, and I thoroughly enjoyed the distant future. So a small shout out for that if you want to start on something more story focused. But yeah, they all have like little elements in between that are different to one another. For instance, the present day has a very Street Fighter vibe. You're going across the world becoming the greatest fighter, and you have like these one-on-one battles with the battle system that we'll talk about in just a second. But you kind of have that kind of splash screen of the Street Fighter when it's like versus. You have someone that looks like a certain wrestler that you may be familiar with, the 80s brother, but he's completely different. He's named different, but you know who it is. But it's a really, really good visual take on the Street Fighter series, and each of these stories kind of take little different things, approaches towards its gameplay. I'll leave it there because I don't want to spoil too much, but it's definitely something to look out for and thoroughly enjoy. You've got a good experience there, and I'm sure once you've done them all, you'll definitely enjoy the experience even more. So let's move on to combat in particular. So I've played a lot of turn-based RPGs, I've played tactical RPGs, I've played action RPGs, and everything else in between. But this is a different take, and it's a nice refresher to play something a little bit different. The way I describe it is you have like a tactical grid, I guess. It's got a little bit of tactical to it. And as you move around the map, if you decide to move around the map to do your attack, the enemy's bar will go up for them to attack, or they might move to a different spot. So once you kind of read the room and see what moves they're going to use and what tiles they cover, you then have the ability to kind of maneuver around that and use your abilities. It's a very satisfying battle system. I didn't really have any gripes with it. If I did, it was on me. I was failing the battle system. But overall, it was great. You might get a bit tiresome of it if you're doing a lot of grinding, especially if you want to level up your characters and collect some of the rarer items in each story. But the battle system is just, it's perfect the way it is. For what Live Alive is, the combat accompanies the gameplay and the story kind of perfectly. They just whipped it in, and I can't believe this was made ages ago, but they just whipped it in and it just made the nicest pie they could with Live a pie. I don't know where I'm going with it, but it is a perfect mix of everything that they did, and it is, like I said, hard to believe how long this game actually came out. So that is gameplay in a nutshell. I've talked about story, so I want to talk about music briefly because I think this has a fantastic soundtrack. From the moment you boot it up and listen to the opening music to where you select your character, go through the story and get that boss battle theme, this is a really great soundtrack to accompany a really great game. I've been overly positive about the game, and that's because I think it's perfect. I think what this game is a perfect filler. So for instance, right, we're about to hit May and June. It's pretty heavy with some games, and you might not want to invest yourself in another game because you might feel it will get knocked to the backlog. I think Live Alive is perfect in it just being that filler because it's something you can go back and forth from whenever you want, or even if you want to invest all the time into it, and you probably can complete it within about 15 hours. And if you want to completely complete it and get the platinum trophy, you're probably looking at about 20-25, and I think that's a perfect amount of time to fill in the gap between all of these big games coming out. So if you are looking for something that will fill in the gap before one of your favorite releases come out, Live Alive is going to be perfect for you to do that. So now I want to finish off with talking about the Platinum Trophy and the trophy journey to that Platinum. And I'm going to put a brief spoiler warning. It's not going to be heavy spoilers. It's literally just going to be trophy names that might spoil something for you. So if this is your first time playing Live Alive and you don't want to be spoiled, please either, catch you on the flip side, I'll see you in another video, or just skip to the outro of the video because I really don't want to spoil you. I'll try and put it in the annotations as well. But you've gone? Okay, you guys that want to stay are here? Okay, let's talk about a trophy list. I've got it running on screen at the moment, and I'd say that the trophy list is pretty easy. I think the only problems you're going to encounter, there's at least one thing in a couple of stories that you have to kind of go out your way to do to get the trophy to pop, but you don't need to worry about any secret bosses in any of the chapters for trophies because they're non-existent. It is just the final chapter where most of the trophies reside, whether you get in a different ending, because this game has a lot of endings and stuff in this final chapter, and that's where you'll be spending most of your time. For the trophies, it's really easy. All you need to do is like create a save and then save a different file under that and just have that as your main file to go back to when you're going to go for each kind of trophy you're going to go for. And apart from that, you're not going to spend too long on it. It is a great experience, and the trophy is really satisfying to have. When I popped the Platinum, of course, I was like, yes! And it also makes good content for the video as well, so I've got more to talk about. But yeah, it's definitely a great Platinum, and it just continues this journey I've had of ever since Crisis Core came out, Crisis Core Reunion. I've platinumed every Square Enix game, so this continues the tradition as well. So yeah, that is Live Alive in a nutshell, and if you've skipped the part and you've come straight to the intro, I'm glad you have stuck around for the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts of Live Alive in the comment section below. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.